Hey everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers, presented by Mortgage CS. Check out mortgagecs.com/PHLY to start your home buying process today. Company NMLS ID number 1464766. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the evening. Joining me as always, Philadelphia's #1 hockey beat reporter, Charlie O'Connor. Chuck, we got a lot to talk about today. There's some newsy stuff actually going on with the Flyers.
As usual.
Yeah. It's for a team that hasn't been relevant in a decade, it never ends.
No. I want to ask other beat writers, because I don't know if there's a way to compare this, beat writers of other hockey teams, if I am crazy for thinking that the Flyers do more shit than any other team. Because I feel like they do.
Especially considering, what was their last big free agent signing?
Yeah.
JVR? Their biggest trade was Ryan Ellis. I mean, these are, good players, but we're not talking about fucking Eric Lindros here.
It just feels like the Flyers are one of the most, they're constantly involved in things. Both good things and bad things, but it's constantly involved in things. And this week was a perfect example of the fact that for some reason the Flyers just are constantly involved in things.
I gotta tell you,
not always good things, but it's always something. It's always something with the Flyers. Today, it's a good something.
I gotta tell you though, Charlie, I always figured this show would end because someone said something real dumb. I just assumed it would be me. Mm-hmm. Your take on these black jerseys, my man.
I hold to it. They suck.
You're going to get us canceled.
Yeah, maybe.
This is going to be the end for me, because I need you. So I need you to really reconsider your stance on the 90s Flyers black jerseys. We're going to get all into the jersey release. We're going to talk about it in a little bit. But the thing that happened today, the big thing, Owen Tippett, it is reported he has signed a contract extension with this team. He was due to become a restricted free agent after the season. 8 years, $49.6 million. That's an average annual value of 6.2 in terms of guys signed long term. Coots is at 7.75, Sanheim, and of course Ryan Ellis at 6.25.
Yeah, and to be clear, the Flyers have not yet reported it.
This is not official,
but I can confirm that is the contract.
Elliott had it. I saw Kevin Kurz had it.
Yeah, I've confirmed.
Charlie has confirmed it. This is the contract. I'm sure there'll be an announcement at some point. The Flyers probably don't want to take any shine away from the alumni, which is I shouldn't laugh, but this will come out at some point in the near future, I would assume.
I would think maybe sometime tonight. Maybe
before the game on Saturday.
My understanding is that a lot of it was just, even though they've agreed to the framework, there are still, okay, what are the exact details of the no trade clause? What's the deal with the signing bonuses? How exactly does the year-by-year structure work? It doesn't make any difference really to fans, because all that really matters from a fan perspective and from a team-building perspective is the cap hit and the years, and that's already been agreed to. However, for the player, it matters a lot whether you're getting $4 million 1 year versus $3 million versus $10 million. Those sorts of things matter a lot to the player. All that matters to the fan from a team-building standpoint is the average annual value, which has been agreed to. It is $6.2 million a year.
I would say the signing bonus structure can be important, simply because the guys who get all their money in the signing bonus, those contracts are basically buyout
That
proof.
is true. There is the buyout element to it. You're right.
They just can't. They can't. This is a not yet 25-year-old guy signing a contract to his prime, and we'll see. But it seems like this is a pretty good deal. We're going to get into it. The thing that stuck out to me immediately, the timing. We heard the reports a week or two ago that were well, he's kind of betting on himself. There really haven't been talks. He gets hurt. We're told it's not that serious. I tend to believe them. Putting him on IR seems to kind of be look at our roster situation right now. We need to move some things around. Let's just not play him until after the break.
Yeah.
But I do find it, I don't know, funny, but betting on himself, gets hurt, and I just picture the call. Get Danny on the phone. Get me my fucking $50 million. I was an inch of a twist away from this contract being half of, or like having to wait another year to prove it. You know,
it's a really
get me
interesting
my $50 million.
No, it's a really good point that it does something like that, an injury that I don't believe is that serious, but certainly could have been. It might just inspire a player to say, you know, maybe we shouldn't be haggling over $300,000.
Yeah.
Like, let's just get it done. I could easily see that being part of it. Also, there's just the fact that I think the Flyers probably got scared a little bit, not by the injury, and not necessarily scared. I don't know if that's really the right word to use, because they're happy to see a guy like Owen Tippett get on a hot streak and start, you know, really dominating. But
if
you watch that happen, and you're Danny Briere, and you're like, oh God, if we wait until the end of the season, he might want $8 million.
No, that was like a couple of weeks ago when he's on pace for the exact same 27 goals. It's like, oh, we're getting him for like the 5.5 Joel Fat. Cool.
Yeah.
And then it's like, yo, if he gets to 42 because he scores every other game for the rest of the season, he's gonna bust our cap.
Exactly.
Like the long-term planning we had, we're going into Excel, deleting everything and starting over, basically. So like it works for both sides. I do think that just in terms of the actual terms here, 8 years, 6.2. The last few weeks we've been discussing like what this is gonna look like. I said I'm looking for under 7 a couple weeks ago, and I was probably overshooting there. You wanted in that Farabee
I was
TK range.
I was hoping for under 6.
6.
That was what I was hoping for. I don't think this is ridiculous. I believe, and I went back through to listen to the show that we discussed it on, which I think was after the St. Louis game. It was after he had the first of the 2 highlight reel goals, and we spent a lot of that post-game show talking about what a contract would look like. I said I felt like I was hoping for something like 5 or 6 years at $5.75 million, something like that. This is essentially that, just with 2 more years tacked onto the back. I like the idea of kind of like just having him for his 30s and then being able to make a decision after that as to whether you want to keep him into his 30s. That said, like if I was fine with 5 to 6 years over 5.75, I can't be angry at 6.2. The cap hits are relatively similar. If this is what it took to get this deal done, yeah, Danny, get it done.
And now the hope is, of course, he has that second level of development we've talked about with guys like Travis Sanheim. And he's even like the second level of development with Sanheim is, oh my God, a crazy breakout year at 27. You know, it's the TK breakout of, okay, we kind of think we know what he is, to, oh no, he's a first line player. Yeah. You know, like that next, and he's at that 25 spot now where it's, if he's what he is right now, I think you paid a fair price.
Yes, I agree with that. If
he takes the step from, let's call him a 28 to 33 goal scorer. If he then goes to the 35 to 40 range, now all of a sudden you're looking, oh, well done.
Yeah.
This is a nice deal for the Flyers.
This is a deal with legitimate surplus value.
Yeah.
This deal pays Owen Tippett like he is right now, like he is a good second line winger, which is exactly what he is right now. You might play him on your first line, but I think ideally he is a good second line winger at this point. The exciting part is the plausible upside. And there's a couple reasons why there could be plausible upside here. Number one is just you watch the guy play.
Yeah.
And you can see the flashes. This isn't a guy where you watch and you're like, yeah, he's getting the most out of his talent. You watch him and you say to yourself, man, like he's good now, but if he plays like that every night, oh man, he could be great. And that's there. Now, he's a little bit older than you would like. You know, at 24 going on 25, this is around the time where guys kind of are what they are. And I am not expecting that Owen Tippett is going to take another massive leap and become a 40-goal scorer. I'm not, but I can't rule it out.
It would be an outlier situation. Like for a guy to take another big step at this age, that would be like he is the exception.
Yes.
You know,
but you watch him
play. But you see the tools and go, there's no reason.
Exactly.
There's no like internal talent that's missing for him to be able to do that. It's just guys reaching their potential is very difficult for a number of reasons. Injuries, coaching, role, internal motivation. Like there's a bunch of X factors that there's no way to answer, especially right now for a contract that's going to keep him signed through 2031-32, which
He's going to be around for a while.
I don't like thinking about that being like that's sci-fi book. Like, oh, and open on year 2032. It's 8 years away. Actually, I don't like thinking about that. But
one thing this does very much kill. Let's just say it kills it. This lingering rumor that was built up largely in part because of the Cutter Gauthier thing, and then because of that one random dude on Twitter who just is clearly just dead set on basically trying to mess with everyone's head, who has been screaming for the last year that every single Flyers player hates being in Philadelphia and they're all going to leave and they all hate Torts and they're miserable and Owen Tippett's going to leave and Travis Konecny's going to leave and everyone's going to leave. And then Owen Tippett, like 2 weeks after contract negotiations really kick into high gear, signs an 8-year contract. I'm pretty sure that is total bullshit.
That's when you said the Flyers were scared. Well, maybe not scared. That's where I thought you were going, and I'm glad you brought that up because
no, it's total bullshit. It always has been total bullshit. That dude on Twitter is a troll, and I love the fact that now people have realized that he is a troll.
I don't even know. I think I know what, but I'm just like. Maybe not the Flyers are scared that everyone wants to leave. I don't think that was ever the case, but just we talked about last night. This has been a fucking circus for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, true.
With the Cutter Gauthier stuff, the Carter Hart stuff, everything that's going on around this organization. I wonder if guys are like, my contract is up soon, and what if I just went somewhere like, the Florida Panthers, Owen Tippett.
Yeah, he wouldn't go back there.
Maybe not the perfect. I just mean like dudes seem to like to go to Florida, to Dallas, where it's I get to play for a real good team. I don't have to pay state income tax, and no one cares. I'll be left alone. Dudes do seem to love that. This is one of the U.S. markets where you aren't left alone.
Yeah,
I was scrolling through Chartable the other day, and there's a lot of Flyer shows in the top 50 of all hockey podcasts. People do seem to care here more so than a lot of other places. And it's been a circus, just like, let's calm everything down. We now have a guy signed through 2031-32 to join a group. I went through the guys who are signed here long term, and I made a list. So now Owen Tippett is here the longest, 31-32. Travis Sanheim, 20-30-31. Sean Couturier, 29-30. Farabee, 27-28. Risto, 26-27. Ellis, 26-27. I have to bring it up because it's funny.
Ellis, baby.
Maybe he makes a comeback. And that is the expected arrival. Is 26-27 for Michkov. You also have Jamie Drysdale. He's through 25-26, but an RFA afterwards.
Yeah, these under
Harrison is an RFA after 25-26. Frost, Cates, York, Forster all signed through just next season, but they're all RFAs at expiry. You now really start to see a core come together, and it's like all right around the time we're expecting Michkov to be here. I think that kind of calms down the circus of guys are requesting trades. We don't know. Owen Tippett was a major piece of this thing. I know it doesn't matter as much to you. He's the Giroux trade. You needed that to be something. I realize the first round pick is a big part too, but I don't know who that is yet, so it doesn't really exist to me.
Fair.
It's not real.
It's just a concept at this point.
Yeah, it's just a concept. I know the dudes who are going to be here, a decent amount of them probably when Michkov gets here, and that's the hit the ground running, let's fucking go time. I think that's important. Just for everyone in the organization to we now know what the goal is. We know who's going to be here.
I just think that a lot of people don't. You hear about it, but I don't think they quite understand just how much these players on the team like each other. The idea that Travis Konecny was going to rush out of Philadelphia was always bonkers to me. The guy bought a house across the street from his best friend, Travis Sanheim. This group is very, very tight, and none of them want to leave. Owen Tippett, feels like he was a guy where when I did the feature on him about a month after they traded for him, I talked to a bunch of people that not that he grew up with, but people who he knew well in juniors. I talked to his junior coach. I talked to, other coaches that he's dealt with in the past. And the one thing that I always heard from them was that if Owen Tippett gets in an environment where he feels like he belongs and he feels like he is accepted for who he is, for the personality that he has, because he is a low-key guy. He is I would go so far as to say I think he is an introvert. I think he is not exactly the gregarious, traditional hockey player, jock type of person. And the point that these people made to me about Owen Tippett is that if he goes to a team and gets in a locker room where he is not just like off in the corner by himself all the time, but he is part of the friendship group, that he is part of just the people. Like, he's the guy who gets called, like, hey, Owen, you want to go hang out with us? We're going to the bar tonight.
Even though he's not necessarily like everyone,
right?
He's still part of it.
That he's still part of it. That if that ever happens to Owen Tippett at the NHL level, you are going to see him blossom as a player, because he's just going to feel so much better about himself and feel like he belongs as a part of a team. And based on everything I've heard from the players, talking to them on the record, off the record, they think he's just a great guy. And they love him. They love Owen Tippett. And Owen Tippett, he straight up told me, I did the feature on him for our diehards, I believe it was last week. I think it was the end of last week is when it was out, that Owen Tippett basically said that I didn't realize it at the time, but it was such a blessing in disguise that I got traded from Florida. And not just because I'm playing well, but because I'm on a team now where I fit in. And I think that's just so important. And that was why I never bought the idea that Owen Tippett was racing out of here too, because he's found a team that he feels good being a part of, not just in terms of the fact that he's scoring goals, but in terms of the fact that he feels like he's been accepted by this group, that he's buddies with Travis Konechny, that he can pick the brain of Sean Couturier, and Sean Couturier isn't just going to scoff at him. He's going to, legitimately sit down with him for 20 minutes and talk to him about why he did that thing on the ice. I think Tippett really does feel like he belongs here, and the fact that he was willing to sign an 8-year contract only proves it.
You just said like a bunch of serious stuff. How important is it, do you think, that he's surrounded by redheads?
I think it's extremely important. And there's fewer redheads than there used to be, but
there are fewer.
There are still a fair amount.
There's still a decent number.
We got to have that quota of redheads.
Yeah,
they're not the Flyers if there aren't a few redheads.
It's a mandate from the days of Bobby Clark till now that there have to be some.
And the thing is, Owen Tippett isn't just a redhead; like, he is a straight up ginger.
He is a cartoon character, orange-headed person.
I love it. I love it so much.
It's really like from the number one beat reporter to the greatest captain of all time to the team now. He's surrounded, you know. And I think that's important.
They're the orange team. You got to have guys with orange hair.
They are the orange team, and I guess that's why it's so important for you that they never wear the black jerseys, because they're the orange team. Let me take a second to tell you, they're our presenting sponsor each and every single day, but sometimes we just got to take a step back and talk about Mortgage CS. It's important to be surrounded by people you're comfortable by for Owen Tippett. So too is it when you're buying a home. I think that works, right? That's like a decent segue.
I think so.
And
Solid.
that's
7
where
out of 10.
That's where CEO Ben Stucker and his team come in, because they are all about the absolute just best customer service. The white glove concierge service that they provide for their customers is second to none. That's what they're aiming for. That's why he gives you his cell phone number right there on the screen, 267-391-7425, because their goal is not just to get you as a client, bring you in, and okay, well, now we got you. Let's see how it goes. No, they want to provide you with an excellent experience. They want to educate and empower their clients and ultimately find them ultra competitive rates for their mortgage, all while providing you that exceptional customer service. That's why they're available 24/7. Owners Alec and Ben, you can contact them anytime. When you hear the word mortgage, think of Mortgage CS. Think of Ben and Alec. Save Ben's phone number. Again, 267-391-7425. Or email Ben at mortgagecs.com. Call or text Ben anytime, day or night. if wherever you are in the home buying process, you want to know, okay, maybe a year from now, I'm really looking to get into the market. What do I have to do to make myself just a better applicant? He will be able to, if you're in the middle of it and you're like, I just not really vibing with my current lender. It's all right. Well, maybe get a second opinion on things. Call or text, or if you're like, hey, this Owen Tippett extension, what do you think?
Yeah,
he'll answer questions.
What do you think, Ben?
He'll answer questions about Philly sports day or night. So hit up Ben and make sure to check out mortgagecs.com/PHLY to get started. This advertisement is not a commitment to lend or extend credit. Mortgage CS is an equal housing opportunity mortgage broker. All loans are subject to credit approval. Certain restrictions may apply. Company NMLS ID number 1464766. Visit mortgagecs.com for more information. I wanted to get into some of the contract comparables. I linked it on Cap Friendly here. Just some of the recent signings that kind of compare pretty well.
Yeah, if you want to run through this, this is going to be in my allphly.com
Oh, okay,
piece.
cool.
And there were two contract comparables in particular. I don't even think they're on here, but there were two to me that jumped out the most, and I don't think they're any of these top ones. But the ones that I found in terms, if you're talking about age and if you're talking about percentage of cap and length, the two for me that struck me as the most obvious comps were, and they're interesting, we have Anthony Cirelli with Tampa and Valerie Nichushkin with Colorado. Both got 8 years. Both got right around that $49 million range. And if you really, and this is something you'll have to go into my story to read, my allphly.com breakdown of the contract extension, which will be up, I would say, sometime tonight. I have to cover the alumni game. But there really isn't going to be a lot of analysis that's going to be involved in being there for the alumni game. So I suspect I will be writing during a lot of that game and not, focusing on zone entries for Mike Richards and Chris Terrian. Don't think that'll be a primary focus of mine. But I will be writing that story, and in that story, I will go into the statistical details. Let me say this, though. Comparatively speaking, looking at those three guys, the point per game and goal per game numbers, pretty similar. So I would not be at all shocked if those two in particular, those two contracts, were used as comparables in the conversation because the contracts just look so similar.
There's the closest match, according to Cap Friendly, is Brandon Hagel in Tampa, arbitration eligible RFA, 25 years old, cap percentage 7.78. The Tippett contract, 7.43. He got a little bit more at 6.5. It's an 8-year deal. I think that's a pretty good comparable. Troy Terry right there. It's like an 82% match. Again, RFA, arbitration eligible. What did he get? 8.38. So he got considerably more. He got $7 million. So that's on the high end of what you're looking for. And Troy Terry, he's one of the main pieces of their rebuild there. He's one of their franchise guys, so that makes sense.
But yeah, going through here, like
Anderson, Schmaltz, Mangiapane, Cole Caulfield is an interesting one.
The Cirelli deal, 8 years, $50 million given to Cirelli when he was 25, same age as one Owen Tippett is. And then Nichushkin, 8 years, $49 million given to Nichushkin when he was 27, so a little bit older. But again, very similar contracts, similar point production in the 3 years leading up to the contracts being signed. Owen Tippett actually has been a little bit better of a goal scorer and point producer than both of those guys. That said, those two guys are better two-way players. Well, Cirelli's a center, number one. He's a shutdown guy. Nichushkin is a advanced stat god. Whereas,
that's his thing,
Tippett is a good player by the advanced metrics, mostly because he's a really good offense driver. Like, he drives, shot, and chance. Like, that's what he does. He just creates them.
He creates chances on the rush.
Yeah,
that's
what he does. He's not a particularly good defensive player, but he comes out above average in terms of helping the team outshoot and outchance the opposition because he's so good offensively. Somebody like Nichushkin brings a little bit more two-way dominance. So basically, you're looking at similar contracts, but the Flyers are getting a slightly better scorer than those guys, a slightly less dominant two-way player. But comparatively speaking, I think those are your two best comps, and I think the Flyers, like Tippett, compares favorably with those guys. I do not think, even looking at comparables, this is an overpay because there's when you're talking about contracts, there's two ways a contract can be an overpay. And they get lumped into one, but I don't think they should be. The one way it can be an overpay is if you overpay a guy. Like, contracts are created based on comparables. And if Owen Tippett's closest comparables all signed on average 6-year contracts with a $5 million a year cap hit, and the Flyers gave him this deal, that would be an overpay based on comparables. That would essentially mean, in my mind, that Danny Briere lost the negotiation because Owen Tippett's camp was able to essentially beat the market in terms of the contract they got. That did not happen here. The Flyers signed Owen Tippett to what I would say is a market value contract based on his statistical comparables. That's the one way you can overpay a guy. The other way is purely based on how good is he going to be? How much value does he actually provide to the team over the course of the contract? Now, that remains to be seen. Obviously, it's an 8-year deal. We'll see how it plays out. I don't think it's likely that this deal, at the very least over the next 4 or 5 years, is going to be an overpay for the Flyers. To me, this is a deal where worst case scenario is it's basically just what he is. That it's paying him like a good second line player, and he is a good second line player for the rest of his 20s through the rest of this decade. That to me is the most likely, I guess, scenario where they're not getting that much surplus value out of the deal, but they're not overpaying him either. However, there's a bunch of scenarios where this is a significant underpay. Number one, if he breaks out, obviously that would mean that this is a dramatic underpay because he's playing like an $8-9 million a year player who's scoring 40 goals a year, and you're paying him 6.2. That's incredible for any team. The other thing, we haven't talked too much about this, but this is a big part, I think, of why the Flyers were perfectly fine signing him to an 8-year deal. Salary cap's going up. It's going way up. It's going to be up to almost, the projection is almost $88 million next season. And there was an expectation that it might be up to as much as like $94 million the following year. We're looking at a scenario where, let's say the cap does actually go up to about $93-94 million by the 2025-2026 season, which would be year 2 of the Owen Tippett deal. Functionally, that would mean that Tippett's contract in year 2, if you're looking at the respective cap environments, is functionally about a $5.5 million cap hit this year. So it is, if Owen Tippett is still good in 2 years, in year 2 of that deal, he's functionally getting paid $5.5 million in 2023, 2024 money, given the fact that the cap is going up significantly. And there's really no reason to think that we're going to have another period of stagnation. I do think that a lot of people have gotten it in their heads, and it's not intentional. It's just that when you've lived through 3 straight seasons of the cap not going up, certain cap hits look daunting at first glance because you're like, oh man, $6 million, that's a big cap hit. It's because we're all stuck in a stagnant cap mentality. In 3 years, $6.2 million ain't going to look that big at all. And if Owen Tippett just stays who he is now, it's going to look good. If Owen Tippett takes a step in 2 or 3 years, it's going to look incredible.
And there's also, just in terms of things that might drive the cap up, currently the players get 0 of expansion dollars. There is a new CBA coming in after, I think this one expires 25-26.
I don't know off the top of my head.
I think it's after the 25-26 season. There's rumors, obviously, of expansion. Maybe we'll get to that later. Maybe we won't. But price of the brick going up, as Marlowe would say. It's going to be like $1 billion for the next 2 teams to get into this league. Something tells me this new NHLPA, which actually seems to want to represent the players.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, can we get some of this?
Yes.
Can we get some of this fucking money? Because it's $1 billion that you 32 owners are going to pocket that we don't get any. That would drive up the cap. At least some. If they get a percentage, you would think maybe they get some of it. But we'll see how that... But it's just another thing that's like, oh yeah, well, in the new CBA, what's going to happen? The cap can't possibly go down.
No.
It can't possibly.
Yeah, unless there is another once in a generation terrible event that puts the world at a standstill. And please God, no, I can't do that again. I do not think the cap is going to stagnate for a while.
There could be an event that might like make people think that's going to happen. You know, it's never going to happen. World coming to a standstill.
Yeah,
again.
That's probably true.
That shit is never ever going to happen again. Yeah. But no, I think this contract on the whole, good with the potential to be great, depending on what we see out of Owen Tippett over the next couple of years.
It's very difficult for me to envision a scenario where Owen Tippett in his mid-20s falls off a cliff.
It would have to, like, and granted, this is the Flyers, so like a trip to Ellis Island is always possible.
True.
But like, unless he just disappears, I can't see a world in which this is bad.
Yeah.
You know? That would be surprising.
I would have liked it to be a little bit less on the cap hit.
Sure.
But I don't think
Always.
but like, that's a negotiation. You know, if the Flyers came out of this sub $6 million, it would be a coup for Danny Briere. Instead, this is just, in my mind, an intelligent risk for Danny Briere to take, given what we've seen out of Owen Tippett and what Owen Tippett could theoretically become over the back half of his 20s.
It's funny to me that, like, obviously down the line when, you know, if Michkov gets here and he's the superstar we all need him to be, like, he's getting, you know, the 10 plus.
Oh,
he's getting the superstar contract.
Of course he is.
For the time being, it's very interesting to me that he's the third highest paid player.
Tippett?
Yeah.
Now is,
on the team in terms of AAV. You know,
Does that include Ellis?
not include. Well, Sanheim and Ellis make the same.
Okay.
So they're tied for 2, but
Okay.
it's Coots at 7.75, Sanheim 6.25, and then Tippett right there at 6.2. I guess it's just like, wow. It once again exemplifies how good of a trade that was to bring in Owen Tippett and almost immediately becomes one of your centerpieces. Now, is he going to be one of the best players on the team when they're great again? I hope not. Like, I hope there's a whole bunch of guys who are better than him.
In all honesty, I mean, I hope so.
Well, at this
because
price,
that means that means
would be
that
great.
he becomes a 50-goal scorer.
Yeah.
And suddenly, if this version of Owen Tippett is one of the best players on the Flyers in 3-4 years, they failed miserably. If a much improved version of Owen Tippett, who is yearly scoring 40, 45 goals a year, is one of the best players in the Flyers, that's great. That just means Owen Tippett took that massive leap that we're all hoping he takes.
And then at that price, what a deal. And it all, like, everything to me comes back to Michkov. And it's like, you also have, while the cap is going to go up, you also have that, you know, for 3 years, hopefully the best player on your team is on an ELC. Like, that is the golden, and then we can spend some money.
And I do think, too, and this is something I am planning to discuss in my article, one of the low-key benefits of signing some of these guys the Flyers have right now to long-term deals is that a lot of guys' point production on this team is being dramatically deflated by the fact that the power play sucks. And let's say you signed Owen Tippett to a 4-year deal. You know, lower AAV, you think, you know, we're not quite sure what you are yet. We're going to sign you to another sort of bridge deal, and then we're going to reassess in a few years and see if we want to give you a big, big deal because we don't know who you are yet. Let's say Michkov comes over, supercharges the power play, and then suddenly the Flyers have a top 10 power play because they have a superstar running the show, and then everyone has an extra 10 to 15 points on their numbers every year because the power play works. Then Owen Tippett, like right now, Owen Tippett, I think will probably finish this year somewhere in like the 30 to 35 goal range, maybe somewhere in the like 50 to 65 point range, depending upon if he gets some good luck with secondary assists and whatnot. You toss another 10 cheapy power play points on top of that, suddenly he's
not million.
Yeah, suddenly he's not asking for 6.2, he's asking for 8.2.
Yeah. Then, like, I don't even think, like, the 4-year deal and then Michkov supercharging everything, that's almost, like, that's a down-the-line scenario. I'm also thinking of, like, say he signs a bridge just to maybe get to a UFA, whatever it would be, a year or two. Let's say, like, Morgan Frost continues to develop. Let's say Jamie Drysdale continues to develop. That makes the power play considerably better, too. Like, those things would elevate the points totals that are down for everyone right now. So, like, those things are also, like, maybe not as strong a factor to consider, but it is, like, Everyone's points totals are as low as they're possibly going to be because they have a 10% power play.
Yes. I just think that we don't want to underrate the impact here of the lack of a power play. Like somebody like Joel Farabee. Joel Farabee has been one of the best, if not the best, even strength scorer in the NHL, and he's not going to sniff point per game because the power play sucks.
No, his even strength points are like the same as the MVP candidates. Yeah. And it's just like, yeah, we watched those games against those guys. You know what happens on the power play? They score. Like, their power plays are completely unstoppable. And this is like against the Flyers penalty kill, which is excellent.
Yeah, it was really good.
What happens when they play shit teams that ain't trying every night?
Yeah.
They have more 5-point nights. Yeah. Like, and it's just, so it's all stuff that you have to take into account here when you're planning ahead with how you're going to spend your money. We also have an app that helps us with that.
Do we, Bill?
For individuals, it's Rocket Money. Is it actually Rocket Money today? Yeah, that actually works. I wasn't 100% sure if I was doing Rocket Money, but I was pretty sure. I double-checked, and we are. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills. I can see all of my subscriptions in one place, and if I see something I don't want, I can cancel it with just a tap. I never have to get on the phone with customer service. Dream come true for me. And Rocket Money will even try to get you a refund for the last couple of months of wasted money and negotiate to lower your bills by up to 20%. All you have to do is take a picture of your bill, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and helps save its members an average of $720 a year with over 500 million in canceled subscriptions. $720 a year on average, 500 million in canceled subscriptions. Oh, it's a few bucks here, a few bucks there. Clearly, it adds up. So stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/PHLY. That's rocketmoney.com/PHLY. rocketmoney.com/PHLY. Do we have anything else on Tippett? I feel like we've basically covered it.
I think we've covered it. I will have a lot more in my article. I haven't even decided if it's going to be a diehard only or if it's going to be for everybody. I'll have to talk to my boss and see what we want to do with that story. But I'll be working on it today and tonight, and it will be up, I would assume, before you go to sleep tonight, unless you plan to get a very, very early night's sleep on a Friday night after a long week of work. But it will be coming. Don't worry. And then I will also have a diehard mailbag article, which I have spent this entire month trying to do this mailbag because every time I'm about to do it, they do something else. It's wild. My general goal here is to do the mailbag at the start of the month. I didn't do it that first week.
It's January 26th.
And I'm just getting to it because the Flyers keep being involved in ridiculous things.
Yeah,
it's insane.
It's truly
so that diehard mailbag. I got the first part of the mailbag finally out today. The diehard mailbag might not come out until like Sunday or Monday now because everything is happening.
Charlie's mailbags have become very on brand with the show and how Mailbag Monday usually ends around Thursday.
I'm just saying, like Flyers, you have an entire week next week where you have no games. Like, could you not have held this until Monday? It would have been great. It would have been great.
It's the never-ending news cycle, Charlie.
Yep.
All right. And luckily, we have a daily show. At least, just one more thing for you to do, Chuck.
Yep.
Now let's get to these. Let's get to these Stadium Series jerseys. For a while there, I was just like, they missed Christmas. The game's like less than a month away now. There ain't going to be jerseys. And last week we actually heard like, oh no, we're getting them. Well, they were finally released today. We have the pictures of them here. We have some really interesting PR pictures for the outdoor game. It's this Saturday, this February 17th, like the weekend after the Super Bowl, I believe, is when the Stadium Series is up in MetLife.
Yep.
I gotta say, I typically don't love primary white jerseys. They're the road team, so obviously they're going to be at the mercy of whatever color that the home team goes with. I think they're pretty damn good. I like how the back I really love with the shoulder stripe going into the nameplate on the back. I think that's an interesting design. I kind of think they nailed these in terms of it's never going to be, you tweeted, like, it's never going to be anything everyone agrees on. I dig it.
I don't mind them. I let me put it this way. There have been ones they've had in the past, recent past, that I thought were trash. These I think are fine.
You hate all the black jerseys.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't mind the black ones they wear now as alternates. What were those for? The Stadium Series in Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
is that what they were?
Yeah,
they're the orange ones they wore at home. I thought were the pumpkin looking ones with the orange logo. I thought those were pretty interesting just because they were so different.
Did you like them? Because I didn't like that. I thought they were drab.
I like when they try stuff.
Fair.
It's the Flyers jersey. Listen, I know, I love the Quakers ones that never were actually real.
It's wild to me how many people still love them,
you
still
always
wear them, even though they were fake.
You always see one or two. If you go to a game, you always see one or two.
Yeah, you do. Still,
I think those are cool, but it's never not going to be the logo. They're always going to have the flying P.
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
Especially now. Like, maybe they would have, maybe the previous ownership group, but maybe the previous
Dave
leadership
Scott and
group
Valerie,
would have been like, yeah, we'll give it a go. Now that we're back to, like, straight up pandering to everyone over the age of 40, there's no way they're ever ditching the logo.
No, it's always going to be the flying P.
Yeah.
So, like, maybe that's something some people love. I love a big crest. Like, that's what I want a jersey to be. There's a lot of Flyers jerseys, though. I don't think one with words or something would kill you. But it's always going to be that, so that's kind of a constraint. I think these are all right.
Yeah, I agree that
I think they're good.
I agree that the black stripe going into the nameplate, I think it's neat. I think it's unique. It's a neat little tweak on the classic Flyer style. I don't know if I love it, but I think it's interesting, and I'm down for that. I tend to like the white dominant jerseys. Not all of them. Some of them stink.
The reverse retro a couple years ago.
Yeah, they were real bad.
There's no orange.
I just think they look clean. And I do think that the black stripe is cool. There's enough orange, because we'll get to this in a minute. There's enough orange that I don't think they are hiding the orange, which is my big issue with another jersey from the past. But I think the jerseys are fine. One thing I do find funny is that how many people, because we'll show the picture again, how many people were convinced that this is Nick Seeler. No, it's not Nick Seeler.
It's just the year 24.
It's the year 2024. That's why it's 24. That they did not get Nick Seeler to do this.
I like the orange numbers on the shoulders. I don't always love shoulder numbers. I think those are good, though. They're not, like, hidden the way the black ones they wear now are, where it's like, just plopped. I like the no outline, just straight orange number.
The one thing that people have to remember about this, and I feel like a lot of people don't realize this when they're looking at the jerseys purely from I'm judging the aesthetics of it. When you're playing in a stadium, like a huge outdoor stadium,
the announcers are a mile away.
You need the numbers to be big.
Yes.
They have to be big. So that's why the numbers on the shoulder pads and even on the back, like, that's why it's so large, because it's hard. And I'm not even talking about the announcers. I'm talking about the people in the arena.
Yeah.
You want to be able to see who you're watching, and it's real hard to do that unless there are distinguishing features. Like, that was my biggest issue with those black jerseys. I am someone who does tracking projects a lot. I will go back and rewatch games. It is still nearly impossible to tell the difference between certain numbers on those black jerseys, because they just don't pop well on television. These, we'll see how they look on TV, but I'm optimistic these will pop well.
The more I look at them, the more I like them. I will say, and this is just for all of their uniforms, watching with the alumni game coming up, watching a bunch of old highlights of guys, I miss the striped socks. I don't like the just 1-2 tone or just like one color. Like, the socks they used to wear in the 90s, I miss.
Okay.
With like a black stripe, the primary color, then another stripe. But like, I just miss those. I don't know if these lend themselves to it because the stripes kind of match the stripes on the jersey, but I think you could do something. But that's just not the style anymore. What do you think is the best Flyers jersey release?
You mean the best jersey, period?
Yeah, just like, and when they've changed things up over the last 15 years.
Okay. Oh, so we're because I mean I didn't know if you were asking me what my favorite Flyers jersey ever is.
What is your favorite?
My favorite
Flyers
Flyers jersey ever is the '90s white.
90s
jerseys.
white.
I think they are the most clean. I love the color orange they had back then. Obviously, they've gone back to the burnt orange, but I just think that one to me is the ideal Flyers jersey.
I was watching. I saw. It was someone on Twitter posted Bobby Clark's interview after the Red Army game, and it was the white Flyers jersey. And it was just a little like his C was outlined in orange and it was white, and I thought that was really good, just like something a little different, like stuff like that. The white is typically the cleanest.
Yes,
I have always been partial to the orange though, because the and this is something we agree on. We are the Flyers. We are obnoxious assholes.
Yes.
And there is no color more obnoxious than orange.
Exactly.
It's who we are.
Yeah. The organization is obnoxious. The players are obnoxious. The fans are obnoxious.
Yes.
Everyone related to the Flyers is obnoxious. And I don't mean that as an insult.
No.
I mean it as a compliment.
No, it's absolutely. There's a reason I believe myself to be one of the voices of the Flyers, because I'm fucking obnoxious. And I think it all goes well together. That's why my favorite Flyers jersey is when they first went to the neons that they just got away from. When that first year that they put out the alternate oranges, and then in the playoffs, NBC was like, yo, we need you to wear these because everyone loves them.
Because they pop.
And then it's like they're wearing those jerseys, like instead of they're wearing those instead of their like actual black jerseys, then they were like, all right, we're done with these. The Reebok Edge black jerseys.
Yeah.
I think that's probably my favorite one.
That's
and
your favorite.
Like the whites that go against that they wore for the Winter Classic in Boston.
That to me, if we're talking about my favorites of the past 15 years,
those are really good.
Those are by far my favorites. I will never stop marveling at the like brilliance of the Keystone for the captain, like having the Keystone with the C in the Keystone on the chest. I thought that was just one of those like, man, who came up with that? Because give that person an enormous raise. That was brilliant.
The orange tie-ups from 2012 were sick.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait, what are you talking about?
The white from 2010.
Oh, no. I'm definitely talking about the orange tie-ups.
The orange tie-ups
are my favorites.
The orange tie-ups from 2012. Yeah, like I got a Wayne Simmons one of those because of the Keystone. Like I was like, I want something with a letter.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I'm getting Simmons.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are... Damn, those are up there too.
Yeah, those are by far my favorites of the last 15 years. I think they were great. I get why they weren't the every time ones. The tie up is much more of a specialty thing. They did feel like specialty jerseys,
took his out.
but they to me they are the perfect specialty jersey.
Those are, yeah, in terms of all the like,
because the 2010 one you're talking about became their road.
It became their road jersey. Yeah. They were like in between jerseys, and it was like, well, you're already wearing this orange one now. Let's just make an alternate to that, basically. And it worked. It was really clean. No, the 2012 ones are probably of all the like limited special edition.
I hate this team, man. Now they're signing Ryan Poehling to a 2-year deal.
Oh,
like could you not have held this to the week you're not playing hockey? Why? Why do you have to do it today?
Why can't you just give Charlie a couple days off?
I'm not writing on Ryan Poehling. I'm not. It's not happening. I'm writing on Owen Tippett. You're not getting an article on what's like probably going to be like a $2 million extension.
And good for Ryan Poehling.
Yeah, I'm happy for him.
He's a solid player. He's been solid this year.
You're not getting an article on it.
No, I mean, this is... maybe just put in a little note at the end. And Ryan Poehling signed too. Do we have details on that or...
No, Dave Pagnotta tweeted out that Ryan Poehling has a 2-year contract extension with the Flyers.
All right. Good for Ryan Poehling. That's not anything. He was set to become, I have it somewhere.
He was an RFA.
RFA after this season.
Yeah, because he signed the 1-year prove-it deal.
Yeah. So, cool. 2 more years of Ryan Poehling. Maybe he develops into something. Maybe he just is what he is. But guy can skate. He's part of the penalty kill. I like him.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't seen the terms.
If they didn't give him any money,
we haven't seen the terms yet, but I would assume he's not going to break the bank. I think he's shown enough this year that he My only issue with Ryan Poehling is that I do think there's a little bit of like square peg round hole in terms of John Tortorella using him in the top 9. I do not think he is a top 9 forward. I don't think he's that caliber of player. However, I think he's a really good fourth liner and a really good penalty killer. And as long as you're using him in that role, I really like Ryan Poehling.
It's one of those, like, we used to get mad at Hextall and Fletcher. Like, oh, the coach keeps doing this thing that everyone can see is dumb. Take his toys away. I would say maybe that's a possibility here with Poehling, but once they have guys to play, like once they have top 9 forwards, I don't see this being a problem. I think
that's my hope.
This is more of a like, well, let's see if he can do it because I like him anyway kind of situation. And once you have 9 dudes who are cemented as top 9s, that won't be a problem. That said, does the cap management, and I guess like with them overachieving this year, maybe it moves things up in people's minds. Cap management for the next 2 years doesn't really matter. Like, you don't want to get long-term trouble.
True.
But a 2-year deal for this guy, like if it's a little more than we were thinking it would be, that doesn't matter.
No, there's a reason why I was advocating last summer, because the 3 big restricted free agents they had last summer were Morgan Frost, Cam York, and Noah Cates. And I was advocating for the Flyers to try, and they very well may have, because the same reason why I was advocating for this is the same reason why I suspect the players' agents were like, no, sign a bridge deal, please, was that these next couple years don't matter that much. If you overpay, like if they would have signed Cam York to a 7-year contract, that in the short term, you're overpaying relative to what they ultimately got Cam York on, which is a very, very cheap deal. If you're giving him $3 million a year more than you would have if you had done a bridge deal, it almost doesn't matter. What matters is getting the savings 3-4 years down the road when this team is supposed to be turning the corner, which is why, again, this is kind of why I like the Tippett deal so much, because I do think they're doing that in a way. Slightly different situations, because this is in Tippett's first contract coming off of his ELC. This is his third, it's his third contract, second coming off of the ELC. But point being is that for somebody like Poehling, it almost just doesn't matter because, they're under the cap now. I like the idea of paying a little bit more now to get savings later. I just don't think Tippett's ever, or not Tippett, I don't think Poehling's ever going to be the kind of guy who's going to break the bank, period. Because I just don't think he has the offensive skill that he's going to do that.
No, like, if we get into a situation where overpaying Poehling matters or not, they're in a world of other trouble.
Yes.
Like, that means they've mismanaged a bunch of other shit along the way.
Okay, I guess we need to talk about this, given that it was a thing. I guess we need to talk about why I hate the black jersey so much.
Yeah, let's do that. It's not my favorite jersey, but when the black jerseys came out, I guess that was like 97, 98 probably.
It was right around the time I started watching hockey.
It was, I think the year after they go to the final is when they get Chris Gratton, and that was the first year of the black jerseys because I got a Chris Gratton black jersey. He, of course, then changed his number to 77 from 55, and like 2 weeks later was traded back to Tampa.
Right.
That's neither here nor there. I like those jerseys. They're not my favorite, but that's the era I grew up in. I love that whole contingent of jerseys. My first one was those 90s orange. Then I had a black. I love them. I'm choosing right now between a black Delmore and a black Boucher, both available on eBay in my size for very little money.
Amazing.
I can't decide which one I'm going with, but I mean, like
Boucher
them.
is still very much connected with the organization. That might be the play.
It would be. I also hate goalies other than him.
Okay, fair.
Like, he's one of the only goalies I've ever liked. Let's go on to you now. You don't like them at all.
No. I will say I overstated it for effect a bit on Twitter.
Which I love to hear.
I do not think that they are like utter trash, awful jerseys.
If you weren't a fan of the team growing up and it was just a jersey that was out there for some other team, you would like it.
No, I would not like it, but I would not hate it. I don't like the main reason why I actively dislike the black jerseys is because so many people think they are like God's gift to jersey. I just think they are boring. I think they are boring, and I think the era that they came about, you had, in my mind, two of the absolute best Flyers jerseys ever in the pumpkin orange and the white one, which I believe is the best Flyers jersey ever. And whenever I would flip on the television, they'd be wearing the black jerseys. It would be like, well, like you have two of the best jerseys ever, and you're wearing this piece of shit. I feel like I'm watching the Flyers on a black and white television because this was pre-HD. My big issue with it, from a philosophical standpoint, is, as we talked about, orange is the Flyers' color. It plays with the entire identity of the Flyers. The Flyers are in your face, obnoxious, annoying. Orange is an in-your-face, obnoxious, annoying color. The black jerseys, it's barely orange. There's just the trim, and that's it. It's mostly black. If they found a way to have more orange in it, I probably wouldn't have hated it as much. But the fact that orange was pushed so much of the back seat annoys me on a deep personal level, because I think it is a betrayal of what a Flyers jersey should be. Also, and this is an underrated aspect of why I don't like them, during that time period of the late 90s, early 2000s, every single team in every sport was making a black jersey because they sold well, because people wanted black things. And I hate that it was just that nakedly commercial. It wasn't about aesthetics. It was, well, black jerseys sell, so we got to have a black jersey.
I will say partially, you're probably right about that. However, in that time period, we also have everyone going extremely loud. The Eagles, like the green, the like midnight green they wear now is not the almost teal they switched to in that time period. You had the Carolina Panthers come in. You had like the Charlotte Hornets. You just had a whole bunch of expansion teams that were going with like 90s almost neon, very loud colors. And the Flyers, who were already that, they wore fucking bright orange, went the other way, and it was like understated and cool, sleek, black, fast. Like I can see it being like almost and going the other way from everyone else at the time too. I just think they're cool, but cool is an alternate. Like when they went to black as the primary, like coming out of the
couldn't stand it,
coming out of the lockout, like that's dumb. Yeah. The Flyers wear orange, and that's why I loved like in whatever it was, like 07, 08, when they released those alternate oranges. I was like, finally, yes.
Yeah, it's back.
I like it as an alternate. I would not want them to wear primary black.
But I made the point on Twitter later that it's not that I think, because somebody, I think it was Kurt, tweeted at me and said, rank these three jerseys, the black jersey, the 3D jersey, and then the 50th anniversary with the gold trim. And I said, there's a big difference between the three. Those two other jerseys make my eyes bleed.
They're bad.
They're
not good looking.
They're actively awful.
Yeah.
The black jersey is not actively awful. I do not think, if I did not grow up a Flyers fan, if I did not grow up in the city of Philadelphia, and I was living in Nevada, and I saw that jersey come out, I would not say to myself, that is awful. I would say to myself, whatever. Which is the same way I view that jersey now, other than the fact that there's like a very vocal contingent of 30-somethings that think it is the end-all, be-all Flyers jersey, and I find that bonkers. Because I just think it's a boring jersey.
Like, everyone wants the black Sixers jersey back. That's not something I care about. Like, I honestly, like, the Dr. J blue with red lettering, like, I think that's the coolest one. I think the black Flyers jerseys from that era are cool. Like, I think they're cool looking. That's what it comes down to for me. That's okay. Again, it's not my favorite, but I would like to see that replicated in some way. That's I want it with the trim. I don't like like if they were to do it in the style they're doing their current jerseys, I'd be like, no, this is dumb. It's just the same.
You got to have the trim.
This is bland bullshit. Yeah. No, I want lines.
I think if I had to guess, and this is coming from no inside information, but just given the fact that this new leadership group is so focused on, playing to the fans, it would not shock me even a little bit if at some point in the next 5 years they pull out these black jerseys. Because I don't like them, but a lot of people do, and the people that do think they are incredible. Yeah. Like it's kind of, I don't think they are as universally beloved, but there's some similarities to Kelly Green, where like the people that love Kelly Green fucking love Kelly Green. And I think it's the same thing with these black jerseys. It all gets to, like, except for Charlie. In general, it's about what you grew up with. Yeah, true. Like, well, I love most of the jerseys I grew up with. I just don't love that one. I was always an advocate of Kelly Green, and then the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
And I was like, you know what? Nah, they won in midnight green.
Yeah.
That's the color of winners.
Yeah.
Kelly green is the color of losers. That's gone. It's over. And then they broke out the Kelly greens again. I was like, oh, it is so pretty, though. Like, it's just a great-looking jersey. So I'm like, oh, no, I have one and a bunch of the other stuff to go with it. But I kind of like these jerseys. I'm like, it's a good day to release the jersey, too, because the guy just signed an 8-year contract. You're always worried, like my Chris Gratton story.
No, because they had to announce every single thing in one day.
You're always worried with
Obviously.
like my Chris Gratton story, like, oh, I'm going to spend this money on a jersey and then he ain't going to be here. Well, nice option for you. Owen Tippett, 8-year deal. Just saying. All right. I don't really care to talk about expansion in Utah. There is
We've got other shows.
There's
to
a
do
very
that.
interesting
Bill,
Alexander
we
Dave
have,
doc coming out.
We have an entire week next
I know,
week
we
of
got a lot
shows
of
with
shit.
no games. We'll be able to talk about it then.
Alexander Daig, I just think this is cool. Chosen One, Alexander Daig, an Amazon original hockey doc produced in collaboration with the NHL.
Oh, that's
launched
cool.
on Prime Video in Canada on Friday. Will be available on ESPN Plus in the U.S. on Saturday. I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Just like, I've long had this idea about an interview series in my head where you talk to dudes who are supposed to be the guy, and for one reason or another, never lived up to that. And this is, I mean, it's Daig. It was supposed to be him and Lindros were the 90s. And for one reason or another.
What was the Pronger draft, right? Daig was
Yeah.
the where Daig basically was just like nobody cares about who was taken after.
Yeah.
And then it turned out to be Chris Pronger.
Yeah, one of the best defensemen of all time. So I just think that's
Amazing.
interesting. If he's a former Flyer, you want to check that out. All right. That's it. That's all the time we have for you today on PHLY Flyers. We'll be back tomorrow, a matinee game, post game. It is a home game, so not Flyer. Charlie will be at the Wells Fargo Center. He'll be joining us. I think it'll be JP in studio here with me. So tune in for that after the 12:30, 1 o'clock start, whenever the hell it's going to be. We'll be there for postgame. My name is Bill Matz for Charlie O'Connor. Have a great Friday, Philly.
We all silly like the mayor.